Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
So let's just get down to business. I'm Catherine White, show weekly mastermind of the weekly Friday Power Lunch, bringing you the guests, the issues, the action, amplifying the voice of the grassroots to get things done. And like today, making things fun as well. It is August 5th, and welcome to the Friday Power Lunch. The topic today is going bluer and better, Democrats in action. And we're going to bring up our guest to say a little chitty chat, and then we're going to get down to business. So first up, Delegate Marcus Simon for House District 53, looking good in that blue. How are you?
Good, Catherine. It's great to be here with you. A break, so happy to be here.
Yeah, and you're just still in session, correct?
We're still technically in session, although we're just about done. Hopefully one more session day, and then we'll be done. Get down to business for campaigning. We're still campaigning for our federal colleagues, and we'll continue to do that. We can do walk and chew gum at the same time.
I know you all can, and I love that you come. Always get the assignment. You have blue on. You're definitely getting bluer, as we say. All right, Marcus, we're going to be talking about early voting and all the voting legislation. So we're excited to have that talk with you today. Thanks for being here and looking good. Appreciate it. And next up, Matt CAFFREY, Senior Director, Grassroots Community Organizer at Swing Left. Matt, hey.
Hello.
From Ohio. I went to school in Ohio.
Yeah.
State. As a Buckeye.
It's a beautiful place, especially in the summer. I was bragging about how mild it is here today and will be all week. Oh no, we've got some Michiganders in the chat. Oh no. I will only agree with Go Blue if we're talking about politics, but if we're talking about football, then.
Yeah, and that's different. I get you. Well, what I love that your location in this midterm, Ohio, Pennsylvania, you have some hot things to talk about today. I'm really inspired. I tried to tune in. You have an awesome weekly leadership call for the grassroots and Swing Left. And I encourage everybody, when we get to Matt, we're going to sign up for that because they're doing such good work. So I'm so excited. You really inspired this segment, Matt. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today. Thank you for coming all the way from Ohio. That's a long trip. It's about 5.5 hours for me. So thank you, Matt. And then, oh my gosh, talk about power and some super bitches that are friends of mine. We have Barbara Jones, Loudoun Grassroots Coalition, and also president of NowPAC, Lisa Salvaglio. Hope I said that right, Lisa. I ran past that. But you are chair of the Loudoun County Democratic Committee, and all the way up from Purcellville, Kristen Gorchuk. Together we will Loudoun. Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's talk real quick. How are you guys feeling today? Barbara.
Pretty pumped. Oh, I couldn't be more pumped. We're ready to take it down in Virginia, starting in Loudoun. We're going across the state. We're calling everybody together. We're going to knock doors and it's going to happen. Believe it, know it. It's happening.
It's going to be amazing.
Kristen, she's over there. Oh, you look good. She's out in Purcellville. I like it. Lisa, it's really exciting because when we really talk today, later in the show, the building coalitions is really the key. And that's what I want to talk about. We look at Kansas, and that was one on coalition building. And I love your challenge to other places. So Lisa, coming in all the way from your Loudoun chair home over there. Any pets?
Yes, I actually have a little bit of a zoo. I have 2 cats and a dog.
Okay, good. That's nice. I know if you hear barking, those are my two in the background. All right. I can't wait because we'll get to it. We've been in a long coalition ourselves together. So I'm so excited to have you powerhouse women on the show today. So let's get it down to the show business so then we can really get to talking about what we want to talk about today, going bluer and getting better. So the rules of the road in the room, everybody knows. I can just say it. We love to have great conversation in the chat. Just don't get it. Keep it positive, keep it informative, but don't get nasty because stare up there will bounce you out. We have a lot of trolls that sometimes try to get in the room. So if you see something, say something. Don't be afraid. And Michelle McKinney, Michelle, wave up there. Michelle up there. Her superpower is helping you feel comfortable in the room. If you're a newcomer to our show, you have any questions, direct them at Michelle, and she'll tell you what's going on and how to participate if you have any questions. So thank you, Michelle, for that. And of course, the after chat, our favorite part, staying after one to really talk together. And I hope today what we're going to do is really talk about how we're going to build these coalitions and see what leaders can come out of this call to get stuff done all across the state. All right, our great friend Fennell Norton, show messenger. Let's talk a little bit about Fennell. Let's start the show with some talk about Kansas. I mean, what we saw, and we always like to get excited when we see something that really shows the voters spoke.
Yeah, Kansas was so exciting. To me, it was absolutely a show of optimism in terms of how we can all feel. It is such a red state. And for it to have the voter turnout that it did and the win that we had in Kansas was really inspiring to me.
Well, I'd like to tee up that video, Robin, and while you tee it up, I'm going to chat. And what I think, we know these states are red, and what Marcus Simon will tell you is a lot of their voices are suppressed. They're not necessarily red, some of them. They are just gerrymandered to death. And Ohio, Matt could talk about that. Let's show the video.
They want us to feel defeated. They tell us there's nothing we can do to stop a Republican wave. We proved them wrong. In one of the most conservative states in the country, voters, led by a quiet army of patriotic, determined women, said enough to radical Republicans invading our privacy, our bedrooms and bathrooms, and our liberties. They want us to be scared, but we won't back down. We will keep fighting. We will keep voting. And there's nothing more American than that.
What I want to say to you right away is the messaging there, the words, American patriotism. If you saw the woman who led that pack, I'll come back to her name, but she talked about this was a deliberate.
Yeah, I think it's important. So we're in a really red state here. And, it's interesting. It can't all say what you want to say. You have to deliver messages in ways that people want to hear it. And I think they were very deliberate about the messaging here. They never mentioned abortion. They talked about passion and compassion and looking into people's bedrooms and privacy and the freedoms that we all deserve. And that just really turns people around. So I think what's important here is not always what we want to hear, but it's what sometimes others need to hear.
Yeah, I saw that our buddy, Tom Bonnier from Target Smart, he did analysis already of that vote. And what they showed is 70% of those voters were women. And this was exciting to see because what we also see, like Barbara and Loudon understand, and many that do these kind of big initiatives, is how you build these broad coalitions. And, like you said, they did nonpartisan messaging around it. And they also reached out to people that weren't normally part of that coalition. I don't know if you looked at that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, one of the things that was really interesting is, and I don't know what the numbers were, but lots of people on their ballots, it was just the vote for that. It was just the yes vote. It wasn't anything else. And so that means that they came in very specifically for that issue. And so I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. And I think that it's really targeting the right audiences here. But there was also lots of really great storytelling. And there were lots of other things. There were lots of door knocking and all of the other things that you do, which to me says it's never about just one thing. It is a combination of all of these things.
Yeah, it was a really smart campaign, and her name was Ashley All. She was the spokesperson for the Anti-Amendment Kansas for Constitutional Freedom. And again, I think these words are really important because, you know, you love to talk about messaging, how we speak about this issue, and understanding, again, it's not going to be just this one issue that what we should be messaging on, but it is really important because when we frame it around freedom, especially, and these are great ways to talk about this. This is really about freedom and democracy and what's on the line, correct?
Yeah, freedom, democracy, privacy. I mean, I think no matter who you are, the notion of someone peeking in your bedroom to tell you what you can and cannot do is a bit frightening, no matter who you are.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. Yeah,
it is creepy. It is creepy. But there's one other thing before we transition that I really wanted to talk about. I love this because I always call President Biden my president. He's my president, but he's everybody else's president. You guys know how I always say, don't poo-poo on my president, because I do think that's really important. But I think that he's had some tremendous success. The administration has had some great successes this week that are worth talking about. The burn pit is great to talk about because Democrats, and then the bill, of course, the Inflation Reduction Act just is going to happen. So there are lots of good things, and the jobs numbers. And we keep on giving, and
gas is going down. Gas is
going down. And we keep on measuring this president by standards that we're not holding anyone else accountable for. So when you look at past administrations, he's done a better job than all of them. So no more poo-poo on my president. And I don't want to hear anything about 2024. Let's just get to 2022.
Well, with swing left in the room, that's what I was inspired when I went to their Thursday phone call. And I'm going to say to everybody again, sign up for that. They've been like 2017 in action like we are, and they have not stopped. And you want to really look at groups that are really continuing like that in every state. But what's going to be interesting, what they're doing is really educating us all just about what you're talking about, what Dems are doing, not only better, but for everybody. And then it really it infuses you with this power that when you are out there talking, I've been working in the farmers markets, man, I can come back with just really good information. And then they always go to something really dumb like, go Brandon and walk away. They just don't have anything else to say. They're like, I'll be like, well, let's talk about this. And they're like, no, how about the border? I'm like, okay, but anyways, facts do matter. But I think what we're going to do now is, unless you have anything else to add to that.
May I pop in for a moment?
Oh, Heidi's going to pop in. Hey, Heidi. This is good. This is Heidi. Can we spotlight Heidi? Because I can't see her right now.
Did I not do it? I tried to do it. I
thought
I
did do it. Heidi, tell us what.
So I just wanted to remind everybody that even though Kansas turned out for this vote, it doesn't mean that anybody in any state is safe that has a red legislature.
Yes.
And if you don't get out and vote for the Democratic nominees, they still hold the power to enact these abortion restriction laws. So as exciting as it is, use it as motivation, not as we won completely.
No. And I think we're realistically what it does show is our points that majority of Americans support these things. And what happens in these states is voters are suppressed. The Supreme Court is really doing nonsense to really, have this chaos across our country, which is really frightening that they would be in charge of something like that. But thank you for that sobering moment. But you're right. And I think we should keep it in mind. Right.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, if they win the House and the Senate, then they can say, we're going to forget about all of that. We're going to nationalize this. So what this should do is give us the optimism that you need, because you have to have a winning spirit. And I think people's spirits were just really broken. And so now we are not broken anymore, because we see that we do have the capacity to bring people along and win where we need to win.
Yeah, and I think too, it's all based on action. So if we organize and act around, we sit back and just enjoy it, have a piece of cake. Now we know the formula is truly the same formula. It's really talking to voters, activating, building these relationships and getting people out to vote and messaging correctly about it. So that's inspiring to, get us going in Virginia. Not missing anything. For now, we're going to have you take over this segment 1 with the wonderful Delegate Marcus Simon, HD 53, and Fennell Norton to let's talk about voting, early voting, and all that good stuff. So let's get Marcus up and get it going. All right.
Okay.
There
Hi,
you
Delegate Simon. There you are. Wonderful. Good morning. I'm really delighted to have you with us this afternoon. So we're going to talk about early voting. And so this was some legislation that you are really proud of and that you worked on. So let's talk about it. Tell us what happened with early voting and what's going to happen.
Yeah, so Virginia, when we took the trifecta in 2000, after the 2019 election, so we had 2020 and 2021 sessions with the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion. And the first thing we went about doing was improving voting. And Virginia went in 1 year from being the second hardest state in the country to vote to the 12th easiest. So we moved up like 35 spots in one year. If they do this again, we should be better because we've actually continued to build on our progress a little bit more. And we fought off Republican efforts and Glenn Youngkin's efforts to try and claw back some of the things we did. But we've expanded early. So we got rid of the needing an excuse to vote in Virginia. Anybody who wants to vote early can. We don't call it absentee voting anymore. We just call it early voting. You don't need an excuse. You don't need to explain yourself as to why you can't show up on election day. It's really sort of vote by mail now. We've expanded to include Sunday, souls to the polls, right? It used to be that we had Sunday voting in Virginia. We were closed, sort of an old blue law thing, I guess. We mandated the use of drop boxes in localities. So people that don't trust the mail or are worried about it, or frankly, just put it off until the last minute and need to be able to drop off their ballots can do that. And we created a cure period, right? One of the problems with voting absentee was it's a technical form you got to fill out, you got to provide a lot of information. If any of that was missing or wrong or illegible, your ballot used to get tossed out, right? It used to be the default was if it's not perfect, let's get rid of it. Now, if it's not perfect, let's fix it. That's what we want to do because we want people to vote. We want your vote to count. We want people to be able to participate. So those are some of the big things we did. We also expanded registration to 16-year-olds. So kids as young as 16 can pre-register to vote. So go out there if you want and start doing, when school starts again, start doing registration drives in high schools, get the kids there early. And we really did improve our motor voter law in Virginia to really, as somebody said, tightly integrate. So instead of going to an opt-in, you have to opt out. When you register for your car, your driver's license, or not just at the DMV, anywhere that you have to prove your residence, you're going to be registered to vote unless you say, please don't register me to vote, or I'm not eligible. So, and then there's like some technical things. You can register to vote online now and automatically just click a button and say, hey, just use my signature that's on file with the DMV as my signature on this document. So that's the kind of integration between DMV and voter registration we got going when we were in charge of the process. So it's good. It's already resulted, and VPAP had a graphic about how the number of young people in Virginia is decreasing a little bit. We can work on that later, but the number of young people registered to vote is increasing anyway. So it's a much higher percentage. So I think that's going to be really important. I think we talked about Kansas a little bit. One of the things we saw was a huge disproportionate number of new registrants. So people that registered like the 90 days before the referendum, very, very disproportionately young and female. Obviously, for this particular referendum, but I think we'll see similar trends in Virginia. We need to get young people excited. Obviously, something very personal is at stake for young women in particular here. And so if nothing else is going to motivate it, hopefully this will.
That's pretty awesome, Delegate Simon. I do have a question for you and your thoughts around the same-day voting. So the same-day voting will be a provisional ballot. And so you were talking about curing. So what does that mean? So how are you worried that folks will, those won't get counted in time, or that there'll be a lot of them? What do you think impact that will have on the election?
Sure. So one of the reasons I didn't mention it yet in my spiel, one of the things we did do with Hala Ayala and I had a bill to allow for same-day voter registration. So the really forgetful or the real procrastinators out there can show up on election day, register to vote, and vote the same day. I don't want to, the reason I'm not talking about a whole lot yet, within this group, it's fine, but I don't want people to wait till election day to do it for the reason that you mentioned. When you show up to vote on election day and register at the same time, you can vote, but it's going to be voted, it's a provisional ballot, meaning that it goes in a green envelope. So you'll produce your ID and whatever proof, fill out the forms and paperwork, prove that you're eligible to vote, but we're not going to make the registrar go over all that stuff on election day while people are waiting in line and verify everything. So that process will happen in the days that follow the election. That's why your ballot goes into a green envelope and along with your registration forms. If your registration is approved, then they'll run your ballot through and it will count. And we do this all the time for various reasons. You don't have to go back in to do anything. Typically, people use provisional ballots now for ID problems, right? They didn't bring a photo ID or they don't want to sign the affidavit or whatever. Then you can do a vote provisional. And you have to drive out to the registrar's office and show up with your ID so that they'll count your ballot. This provisional ballot does not require any follow-up on the part of the voter, right? The registrar will have to verify the information, the eligibility to vote, and then the vote will be counted during the canvass period, right? So after we do the election day stuff, there's another, and then the other thing we did, by the way, for absentee voting is we accept ballots for 3 days after the election day if they were postmarked on or before election day. So it's not terribly unusual. There is always going to be this trailing batch of ballots that will be counted a couple days afterwards. And these will be counted, those same day registrants will be counted at the same time as all of those, even though they're voting provisionally. But again, I prefer, since we do have time, right? We're not there yet at the deadline. Let's get folks registered now. Let's not encourage them to wait till election day. Let's get them registered now. Once that deadline passes, we can start up with hey, it's not too late in Virginia. Just because you haven't registered yet doesn't mean you're all is lost. Let's make a plan to get you to the polls and get you registered at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I really wanted to also talk a little bit about this since we're so excited about this election coming up and we're all working really hard, but we're thinking about that we want to get the House back too. So my thoughts are, what are you thinking is going to be really important to get the House back in 23 and in terms of making sure that folks are running everywhere? What do you think about that?
So, we don't have the luxury, right, in Virginia of doing one election at a time. We have elections every single year. And so we're already starting to think about 2023. I think that, we've got a good map. I think the redistricting process sets us up for success. I didn't love the process. Frankly, if I'd drawn the maps myself, I think we'd be guaranteed success, but that's a whole nother story. So, but I think we've got good maps that we have a chance to take back the House and the Senate if we do everything right and we work hard. I think we're doing that. I think that the new leadership in the House of Delegates is really laser focused on campaign stuff. Policy, there's only so much we can do in the House. We're going to count on our friends in the Senate to be that brick wall. And worry about the policy things since we don't have the votes to stop much in the House. So we're really already focusing on putting together a good campaign committee, a campaign team, recruiting great candidates in every district, and making sure that we give them the right training and tools that they need to run credible and successful campaigns. And so we're working on all those things now. We've got a campaign committee that's up and running, and I think it's going to be great. I think we do need to continue to push back on everything that the governor does. I mean, that's been one of my roles in the House of Delegates that, I've won the pop-up award, as the guy who gets up and sticks it to the speaker and gives it to the governor every chance I get. I think we really need to highlight what they want to do. I mean, the governor's really made no secret, and we talk about, Kansas is a victory for Kansans, and that's good for them. But our governor has said that if he would sign any bill that got to his desk right up to a no exceptions for rape, incest from the moment of conception kind of abortion ban. I think that's what he wants. I think that's what most Republicans in Virginia, most Republican elected officials, I should say, want to see happen. And so we've got to stop that. We've got to highlight how extreme their position on this issue is. continue to advocate, to register voters, activate them, let them know that we have elections every year, and let them know who their candidates are, because we have a lot of new folks to introduce ourselves to with the new boundaries.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Do you have anything that you can share exciting in terms of what is happening around with the committee in terms of getting folks engaged, you know, at the top of the house, in terms of a consistent process all around that we would use to get folks engaged and enthusiastic and understanding what's at stake?
Yeah, we're working on, again, it's the funny thing about a legislature, right, is everybody wants to be able to be responsive to their districts, because what works in Virginia Beach, one of the things I learned knocking doors for Elaine Luria the other week, I hear from Virginia Beach folks that their Democrats are different than our Democrats in Northern Virginia. And I can tell you a few conversations on the doors and you find out that's true. That being said, we're also working on having, and you guys can help us with this, and we're studying, just like, you know, we've heard some comments about what messaging worked in Kansas. We're studying what's happened in other states and other places that work, so we can all start with a consistent thread, right? And I think everybody needs to be speaking the same language, using the same words, and then you can vary. In Falls Church, I'm going to be able to go a little bit left with that message. I'm going to be willing to highlight or focus on some words that are different. I can use the word abortion more often probably in Falls Church than somebody in a more 81. So we're doing polling on that stuff. We're getting some messaging training, messaging expertise, providing those training opportunities for our members. And so if any of you all have expertise like that and you'd like to offer opportunities to train, I can certainly get you in touch with Don Scott and Dan Helmer, our campaigns chair. He's local, and get you all in front of our candidates and our members. We'd love to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. One of the things that I think is important, we all do, is that we are sort of on the ground and we sort of hear and see what people are saying, what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes when you're further removed, you sort of have a really different insight in terms of what works and what doesn't. So that would be a fantastic opportunity, is some really close coordination with the grassroots. So that's a great idea.
So I see you have highlighted.
I'm always popping in because we're going to segue to the next summit, but I always want to ask, because because we in the room, we like to make sure we protect voting, and in the sense of funny business of how we can get ready for the young Republican and Young administration. You know, he's been putting people in certain roles, like from education. How about the electoral, these kind of boards, or where should we put ourselves? Like sign up to work the polling places, sign up to work. You know, what really practical things can we do to protect our voters is one, and what funny business do you see maybe going on? And I do see that last year weakness is we had all these great voting legislation we passed, we didn't tell anybody about it. And so we always assume somebody is doing that, like somebody's sending the early voting information to the Dems. And then I'm like, well, I don't know in Virginia who's doing that, except is the grassroots, is it the party? What are your thoughts on those two things? One, funny business where we can practically be involved to protect citizens, that would be helpful. And then also making sure that we as grassroots push everybody to say, let's not do this same thing we did last year. September 23rd rolls around and everybody goes, well, we didn't do anything, you know?
Yeah. So the first question, I think that we have a statewide voter protection hotline. And so through the state party, if anybody has a legal background, I'd urge you to volunteer, and I can put you in touch before the end of the hour. I'll get something to drop into the chat with how you can get in touch with our voter protection. FCDC, Fairfax Democrats, I know have a great program, and so you can volunteer to man a hotline for people running into problems. We also put people in high traffic polling places, and I'm hopeful that doesn't come to pass, but we need to keep an eye on them. And then there are. What we don't want to do is what some of these sort of far right guys do, which is to be the self-appointed election protection officials, which are really voter intimidation types. But we need to be there to answer them and balance and cancel them out should they show up anywhere. What was the second question, Catherine?
The other one was just, the second question was about making sure we learned from last year where we do tell our voters and our Democratic voters about their new rights of voting, and we don't look to everybody else like, why didn't you send it? Well, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things
who's going to do it?
Yeah, the campaigns should be doing it at the congressional level, but I think all of us need to chip in and do that. And I'll certainly take, I know for the House Democratic Caucus come 23, we're going to have a plan to make sure that everybody knows how easy it is.
Well, that's the thing that really, I think we're laying the groundwork now for the 23. So that's what we want to see, that coordination, to understand that we do it now, we start now, we register now, and we build for 23, not wait till there. And that's just my little plug. Y'all to get some fire in your denim pants and suit. So thank you, Delegate Marcus. Simon, it's always great to see you in the room. You always come prepared. I appreciate you, my friend. Okay, so thank you. All right, I want to make sure we have time to talk to Matt CAFFREY, who is the senior director of the Grassroots community organizing part of Swing Left. Matt, you've been with Swing Left now since 2017?
2018, but yeah, 4 years, which is a crazy long time to work as an organizer anywhere. It's the longest I've ever been in any role. So yeah, really glad to be here.
Yeah, we met you. You came out in 18 when we were electing the congressionals, when we did the Women's Summit, and I think this is really important. Like even in this room, how we build these relationships, we build the community, and we can call on each other. So I think it's great. So let's get right to it. For those that don't know about Swing Left, just give a quick overview, and then let's get right to what people want to know about what we're doing and what Swing Left is doing for this, your new strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So right, Swing Left exists to support the grassroots all across the country, grassroots volunteers, grassroots donors, to help them have the biggest impact possible on the races that are most likely to determine the balance of power in our country. We work to elect the Democrats selected by their communities in the toughest, winnable districts, and the districts that are most likely to decide who controls Congress or who controls the state legislatures. Just real quick, our history. In Virginia, we worked on 4 races in Virginia in 2018 that I loved. It was such a pleasure. That I was living in DC at the time, and so those were my canvassing turfs, right? Like I would work all week, and then on the weekend I would go knock doors for Abigail Spanberger or for Wexner or Wexton, or for
was it
Virginia 5.
Wexton? There was
Coburn.
Coburn, that's right, Leslie Coburn. Yeah. Yes.
And then in 2019, we were the largest national source of outside volunteers or dollars to help Democrats win the trifecta in Virginia. It was our biggest focus for 2019, and is again something I really loved. I took a picture of a whole bunch of volunteers lining up to get on a bus in DC to go knock doors in Richmond, and Hillary Clinton retweeted it. It was pretty cool. So anyway, nice. And then of course in 2020, worked on a whole bunch of states, and largely Virginia was exporting volunteers to other places. And then in 2021, we went all in on Virginia again. And I know you all were heartbroken by what happened. I think every day about 50 more volunteers in the right turf, so we would have won the House.
We would have won. We're so like this, and it really is hard. I hate to beat the dead horse, but everybody tells you I'm good at it. Yeah, a lot to learn from that. So I'm glad that you're talking about this long game, this 10-year plan to defeat this. So you really kind of looked at what needed to be tweaked and changed. And so tell us all about the 10-year strategic plan that you do have, and what pieces and parts what does that look like? Yeah,
let me just say that right now, our biggest focus is 96 days from now, or whatever it is, right? It's right in front of us. And it's winning the House and Senate and some key governor's races. The 10-year plan really looks at building power in the states, in the key states that are the places that keep showing up over and over again, passing awful legislation that then leads to that legislation being passed around the country, or where we could have a path to be like Virginia was in 2019, where we show the country what it looks like when Democrats do take power and how much progress we can make so quickly. So I would say the 10-year plan is really all about state legislatures and building power in the states, and we're analyzing each state and all of their legislative districts to kind of figure out where are opportunities to build a majority before the next round of redistricting, which can of course set us on a path for the next decade.
Well, that's so smart, because what we learned is that 2011 redistricting, how they won we lost 18 legislatures because we weren't paying attention. I'm glad you are. And we know that, they're looking for that one next Republican legislature so they can call the Congressional Constitutional Convention. So yeah, we got to focus on that. So let's talk about these 96 days and what people in this room, the different aspects of this that you're doing, people can get involved with you with.
So the biggest thing is this: Democrats have a clear path to victory. This has always been a different midterm election. This has never been a red wave in the making, the way that people were talking about it. Democrats have won the last several elections. There's a clear anti-MAGA majority in this country that is strong, and that was motivated to vote even before some of the things that happened earlier this year. So this was never going to be a blowout. It was always going to be a tough fight. What has happened in the last few months is that we've shifted from a tough fight to a surge of energy on the Democratic side that is setting us up very strongly to win this November. And I don't want to hear any defeatism from any Democrats anywhere ever again, but particularly this year, because it was never true. And now it is quite clearly not true. We are leading in key states in the Senate races. We were leading in key states before the Dobbs decision. And since the Dobbs decision, we've seen a big bump. The generic ballot is looking good. We have a clear path in the House of Representatives. That'll be the hardest, but that we do have a clear path. And in the context of Virginia, re-electing Elaine Luria and Abigail Spanberger to the House are absolutely must win races, to help Democrats keep the majority. So that's, for those of you in and near Virginia, I'd encourage you to focus on those races in addition to all the other things I know that you care about in your local communities. But, just every new piece of data gives us reason to be hopeful. And it's not just polling or fundraising or candidate quality data that is encouraging. Don't look now, but Congress has some momentum. We're getting some things done. We're passing some legislation. We're fixing problems for the American people. We're creating jobs. Yes, I'm proud to have voted for Joe Biden too, and he is putting together quite a little string of wins. And I think that should be giving us all a lot of hope and inspiration. And if you want to hear more about all of this, friend of Swing Left, Simon Rosenberg from NDN. He's a grassroots.
That's the National Democratic think tank. It's
I think it's New Democratic Network. Yeah.
New Democratic Network.
Yeah, he worked for Clinton all the way back in '92, and then worked at the DCCC and has done a bunch of other things. So I shared a link. There's a link. We've got many links pointing to the same event. But wherever you sign up, join us. Hear from Simon. You'll get fired up.
Yeah, let me set this up a little bit. So when we talk about going BLUER, his kind of presentation inspired me when I came to your event on Thursday, really showing all the things, like you said, how Dems are doing it better, how things are going BLUER, all this really, but it was based on facts, statistics, and he brought it. And so this August 9th event that we want everybody in this room to attend, if you can, we have a link that Network Nova has set up, so we'll mobilize. We're co-sponsoring this event. Simon brings such great information, and this, this think tank. We'll put all those links in there. So, in the sense of your letter, so people to get involved with you right now, I'd love for them to keep joining your calls. You're doing are you still doing letter writing? So right now, if people letter writing, joining a group that's local, starting your own group, and then donating. Yeah. That basically the top.
Those are all great things. I put in the chat, we've got, you can find a local event near you. We're done. Groups across the country are organizing trainings this month as an entry point for people who maybe haven't talked to voters before or haven't in a while and need a refresher. So we've got dozens of those trainings being hosted across the country. There's lots of door knock opportunities, phone banking, and then letter writing. I've talked about it with this group before, but letter writing is the most fun, the most flexible, and the most effective thing you can do if you can't go and knock on doors. Far more effective than postcards, 5 to 7 times as effective as postcards.
Matt,
we love postcards.
Postcards room. Don't say more or better. We know that we are going to.
We love postcards, but we know that if your goal is increasing voter turnout, then letters are far more effective. If your goal is increasing name ID for your candidate, that's different because we don't mention candidates in our letters. But if your goal is increasing Democratic turnout in key districts, I want you to give letters a try because they are really fun. They're highly effective, and you can do them. You can print them off at home, write them at 4 in the morning while watching TV.
I know with my postcard people in the room, there's a lot of strong writers that we started this way a long time ago, and then groups picked up the idea because we got a lot of pushback about writing postcards. A lot of groups are like, nah, and they were really afraid you're taking their text bankers away from them. And we found that with the research, what postcards has done and these groups have done is build a cohesive network and community that during the pandemic, we wouldn't have had these groups. The relationship meeting, when people sit around and they meet at Starbucks and they write, is that the impact on the people that write is one of these things that sometimes people don't measure, and then also how much love that goes into these and then received by the voter. And I love the double thing. And I'd like us probably to look at different research. I know we have some, I agree with you, but I also want to stand up for my postcarders in the room and know that we do both. And they both have different things, just like texting, phone banking, and door knocking. So I'll just say that. You know what I mean? I know, I'll hear it later. Trust me.
If you're a postcarder, just do letters once. Give it a try. They look like the, oh, I got to turn my blur off. Apologies. You're going to see my son's messy room here.
We know what they are. They're good. I've seen them. They're great.
And my message, let me just share my message real quick. It'll take 2 seconds. I vote because in the delivery room, moments after my son was born, I promised him I'd work to build a better world for him to grow up in.
Good.
His generation faces so many challenges, from climate change to school shootings. I vote to elect leaders who will take bold action to address these issues. If you receive that in the mail and it doesn't mention a candidate and it doesn't look like elections mail, you're going to read it. You're going to be moved by it. You're not going to feel like you're being sold something. That's really important. And that's part of why it makes such a big difference.
I love what you guys are doing. And I love that we have like a menu of opportunities to work together. And so please, everybody sign up for these Thursday grassroots meetings. They're really inspirational and they really do about the training. And I'm going to say one thing before I let you go is that Bobby, one of your organizers, was organizing for Abigail Spanberger, Swing Left. She is doing training. So I hope you could provide us maybe with people in the room working in Virginia, maybe specific trainings or connection with specific people organizing door knocking with that Abigail Spanberger or Luria or Wexton team. So thank you. Thank you, Matt. All the way from Ohio. Go Bucks. Go Bucks. We're going to have a good show today because we are just talking it up. And I love these kind of Fridays. But I don't want to let things go by without talking about the Women's Summit because we are talking about days away. Next week, we're heading down to Nellis Ford, Virginia, the Shenandoah, Waynesboro. We're going down to the Rural Valley, we're calling it. We'll be kicking off Friday at the Basic City Beer Brewery in Waynesboro. Nancy Morgan and Bill Moser in the room are going to be doing some bingo trivia at the bar side. We'll have some great snacks. So join us there. If you're in Waynesboro Friday night, we'll put the links in. And then Saturday, we're going to kick that off. We're going to, get up early, get some coffee and head down right outside of Wintergreen at the bottom of the mountain, a beautiful Bold Rock Brewery. We have the Rain Pickers, a great grassroots band to give us some great feel and energy. And we'll have all kind of people coming from the surrounding community, plus people from different parts, like from Virginia Beach and Nova, because it is all about building these coalitions. And we'll be listening to guests that really have that rural perspective to help us do our work together. And there's going to be great beer. I was in the beer tap room. We have the Barrel Brewery. We have the Front Grass. We can hang out. So bring your towel, your bug spray, your shoes. You bring yourselves, bring some money for the Thrill to the Grill food truck we have hanging out there. And then, of course, make sure you get that denim hat from Stare. And up and coming for part of the workshops, part of the summit is also work online. So we have a wonderful workshop coming up this Wednesday, August 10th at 5 p.m. with the young people from Generation Ratify. They'll be talking about how to mobilize young folks, and they're going to talk to us. We have a panel of 5 or 6 super fabulous young women who are really going to rock the world. So yeah, you still have time to get a ticket. $10 to up to $35. It's really super affordable to join us because we're going to be rocking this out all the way to election and afterwards. So that's my pitch. And now let's get to some super powerful women that are rocking loud in Barbara Jones, Lisa Savaglio, and also Kristen Gorchik. Let's bring them up and let's talk. And I am just so excited about this segment. This powerhouse of badass organizers in Loudoun. You know, we have this long relationship, Barbara, and it's really benefiting ourselves today, right? Like this coalition building, these relationships have now 7 years later, we're older, we're a little grayer. Let's talk, my friend. Let's say you were part of the new Loudoun Grassroots Coalition. Your Network Nova was started with you. You're also the president of the chapter of Now out there. So let's just tee it up with you first. Talk about the initiative you're doing, the Democracy Canvas. Give us the skinny, the 411. What's going on?
The 411. Well, first I want to say thank you to everyone who is in this room that has lifted, has taken an action, has gone out of their way to do something uncomfortable and make a change. And I thank you from my heart, because we're going to ask you again, and it's going to make a difference, and we know you will. So I wanted to say that. So I thank you. So a little bit about us. We're coming back together, all of us. 2019, we had this big
Equality
canvas. So we brought, at that time, we had school board, we had the board of supervisors, we had all these races, and we pulled them all together. We got together with Lisa over there and the Grassroots over there and Network Nova, and we invited everybody, said, come to the party. But you know what we did? We created T-shirts to honor volunteers. What? We gave away T-shirts with your name on the back, because this stuff doesn't get done without all of you. From my heart, that's who makes it happen. That's who makes it run. And so 150 people came out. We knocked how many doors, Lisa?
Over 42,000.
Holy cow.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take that and we're going to do it this year. We're going to do it again. And then my old brain got thinking, after an espresso from my daughter, why aren't we taking this across the state? We got to go to Luria. We got to go to Spanberger, but all of us have to move and go there. Make it happen, or whoever we know, so we can move this ball forward, because we know from our successes, from Network Nova, from flipping Virginia, from flipping all those seats, all those times, we know what works. So the biggest thing to do is bring us all together and make it move. Don't worry about anybody's ego, but make it move. Go ahead.
Tell me real quick. So the equality canvas was so powerful. One, it was just also this idea how people work together, girlfriends work together, come together, invite their friends. And that was really powerful. First 100 people get their name on the back of the T-shirt, but so many people showed up, young people, old people. And what was cool about that too, is you had the issue speakers there. They had the young people talking about climate, young people talking about this. It wasn't elected specifically talking, it was people, the issues talking. That was powerful. Let's talk about the power of the coalition building. Who is coming to this? And when people are listening in the room, this is a template for that. Anybody can do this. Mm-hmm. You know, you may, especially if you know already a little bit of people, like tell us who is on this list of this democracy canvas. Who is coming? I mean, that like SEIU, like who have you invited? Who's your power partners? And who in this room can join you? Maybe there's organizations in the room that will be part of your democracy canvas. So let's talk about it. Who do you got coming?
Go for it, Kristen. Let's get everybody in the room.
Kristen, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
So we have a lot.
Together we will Loudoun. Go ahead, Kristen.
We have a lot of great grassroots groups out here in Loudoun County, and the enthusiasm this year, I don't think I've really honestly ever seen anything like it. We have had more volunteers in the month of July than we've had previous Octobers and Novembers. We have had 60 people sit outside for 6 hours on a 96-degree day to learn how to canvass and to come together and write postcards and train each other on how to phone bank. So the energy this year is amazing. Like, I think this canvas is going to be amazing. I think we're easily going to knock out 40,000 doors. And it's really just reaching out to the folks we've been working with for the past 6 years, different groups, sending groups of volunteers. We're asking candidates to send some of their team to come help us knock. And of course, we'll be mentioning those candidates. We're asking elected officials to pull together some volunteers and have a friendly competition. So it's really just putting the puzzle pieces together. All of us here show up. We've come to know the other folks who show up, and it's like a dominoes where we're reaching out to a person who reaches out to another person, and it's going to fan out over all of Wexton's whole entire district. And we're going to reach out, and we're going to get all these voters, we're going to speak to them and have one-on-one conversations, and we're going to make a difference. Wexton's district is different this year, and I know Spanberger's and Luria's is really different too. We have got to make up the difference in the places where they're losing some blue votes. Wexton's lost a significant amount of Fairfax, and we need to work really hard in the remaining 4 counties and really pull together, find those votes, get the vote out. We saw it happen in Kansas. We can absolutely do it here. The turnout was historic. 100,000 independents came out in Kansas who could not even vote in the primary, only to vote on this one issue. We finally have our unifying issue, and it's our rights, our constitutional rights, and it's resonating. I have spoken with more pro-life Republicans on the doors telling me they're voting for Wexton than I've ever spoken with on any issue who said they would vote for the other party. I mean, the momentum is huge. We just really need the manpower. You'll be very pleased with the energy you get on the doors and how much people want to talk and want to participate and want to make a difference. And I think it's just really rewarding to talk to voters this year.
Yeah, and I love it. And we'll go over to Lisa, because I think to me that what we learned was this important bridge was when we have somebody like Lisa sitting in the Democratic part of this, which a lot of us weren't involved in that now we can coordinate with somebody, a chair who will bridge with the grassroots, who supports that, but then can help us do that other power piece that maybe will even amplify this 100 times. So Lisa, talk about the importance of your role in this, what you're doing, and how what your thoughts are, with this kind of template going forward too.
So as been mentioned before, this is going to be huge. What we have done in Loudoun County is the Loudoun County Dems then went ahead and challenged the Prince William County Dems to do the exact same thing that weekend. And then the Prince William County Dems went ahead and challenged the Fauquier County Dems to do that same thing that weekend. So that way we've got one weekend where all counties involved in Wexton's race is just going to have this huge canvassing momentum. And then we've, like Barb said, have the candidates sort of doing a friendly challenge to each other to see, how many volunteers they can bring. And it's
That's
just
a good idea.
A lot of fun.
So I want to jump. Can I jump in, Lisa?
Yes.
I'm jumping. I'm challenging the House of Delegates members. They don't have any races. Get out, go somewhere where you don't have anything going on, like BLUER, whoever. Go somewhere, bring a group, and start digging up that turf for us. That's my challenge to the House of Delegates. Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
I love it. And we're going to send that piece off to all of them. So go ahead. Yeah, Lisa, no, I love the challenges. It makes me excited. I think that it really does inspire people to get busy. So you tell us more about that. I love it.
Well, and it's also very helpful because yes, we will have a big kickoff in one location, but we're also doing what we're calling rolling canvases throughout the multiple districts in Loudoun County. So if you can't make it to the big kickoff at 10 a.m., It's fine. There's a canvas happening in Ashburn at noon, or a canvas happening in Sterling at noon, and they're all going to go throughout the entirety of the weekend. So it just makes it extremely easy for everybody. And we're also doing a phone banking effort outside of the Wexton office at the same time.
I love that. And so I think that I want to, for people in the room that in Virginia Beach, I think this model could be used, obviously, in Elaine Luria's, Spanberger's, we have Wexton, and these challenges in getting people. Because what I heard, when I hear me a little bit, I'm not real happy with even yet with the House of Delegates. Are they really seeing all these senators and delegates can get busy now? They can start to be part of this. And the parties and the committees, if the committees coordinate with the grassroots, the power that the committees have is sometimes information. I know when Barbara, you started this, it was like you coordinated with a campaign person, and that helped you understand like how to cut turf, how to have everybody bring their literature, how to organize these doors. And then you had multiple, then it was so many darn candidates. This is a little easier, but you're laying the groundwork for next year.
Absolutely. The other thing that's really critical, I was a field organizer for one local campaign. When you do a weekend like this, they have these lists of voters. If we go through 40,000 doors, it culls the list down for the rest of the time. Then we really know who we have to target in on. So it's and I hate to say it, it's like a war. It's a campaign. So if we can do it here with Wexton, we take this to Spanberger, we take it to Luria, we keep these seats, and we as women wage this war because we're the only ones that are going to do it. I'm sorry.
Let's mention it's Equality Day, August 26th. This is Equality Weekend, truthfully, and the democracy can't. I love the framing of this canvas. I think it's like Kristen said, our constitutional rights. This idea really is good messaging, especially in Purcellville. How are the doors out there? Are you finding that it is people?
They're amazing. Yeah. They're amazing. I was a reluctant canvasser when I started years ago, and the reception out here was definitely lukewarm at a lot of doors and, kind of nerve-wracking. And I've been going out ever since Roe and a little bit before, and even the difference from May to the post-Roe decision, the Dobbs decision, has been amazing. Like people coming out of their houses to talk, an incredible amount of enthusiasm from the men we've reached on the doors, which we kind of weren't expecting, but more conversations with men, more outrage from men, more of them saying, what are the Democrats going to do? More Republicans telling me this has gone too far. And they've also brought up other ways in which they feel their parties left them behind. We spoke to a gentleman who worked for renewable clean energy and was so disappointed that his party wouldn't acknowledge it as a solution. And now with this historic climate bill that's going to come before the Senate soon, we have a chance to have a win there. We've had a win on the PACT Act. We've stood up for veterans. We've got inflation legislation coming through, and I just think we have all the momentum. And then we have this amazing unifying issue that for me has crossed gender, age. I've spoken to 85-year-old men who need a ride to the polls because they want to go vote against, what's going on. And then you spoke to young parents, young mothers, teens coming out, knocking doors with us because they can't vote, but they want to do something about this. So it's really bringing people together, even out in the West, which is more, Republican.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, some last words. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Jump in just a little bit here. And the reason that we are calling it the Canvas for Democracy is because that's exactly what is at stake here, right? Yeah. Our democracy is on the ballot. And I know that everybody has heard that time and time and time again. Right. And I hate to be saying this, but we mean it this time. It is like every single time we've got to fight for something. We've got to fight for something. And if you don't stand up for something, you lose everything. Yeah. And I do think that the partnership between the grassroots and the Democratic Party is key, that we work together because we're all fighting for the same issues. So let's work together and let's accomplish things.
Right. And when you work, Barbara, and you have a last word and wrap up, when we work together, again, the thing is, when we want to do these things, you need to speak to the campaigns to be part of it. You need the committees. And I think if we can make this where we can, and these power, and then, you know, these power circles, then you have SEIU, you have Planned Parenthood, you had all the, you know, all the people that are known, Moms Demand Action, are getting out really good voters as well. And this is so important. So Barbara, last words, and then my friend, we're going to wrap up, and we have a great video to dance out of the room too. So, oh, wait, you're muted, my friend. I don't want to lose any word.
So everybody that knows me here, I speak from my heart. And it's your heart that will push you forward when you think you can't go any farther. So I'm going to ask you to work from your heart, do what you can, show up, because I know from my heart we will make a difference. And my question to all of you is, do you think we can go a little bigger this year?
Yeah.
How much bigger?
How much bluer? How much
bluer? How much bigger?
Better?
Whatever those ideas are, put them out in the universe and go after them, because we're taking it back. And you know, the people in this room, we're going to all get together, and it's a resounding yes, we're going to go bigger. And I'm going to ask you to join me. I'm going to ask you to have fun. I'm going to ask you to get a t-shirt with me with your name on it. I'm going to ask you to have a little beer and a piece of pizza, because we're going to have a barn burning good time. So let's go over here. Let's go. A bra burning. Okay. Yeah.
Bra burning. Is that what you said? Maybe I'm sorry. I made that up.
Yes, so, she made that up.
August 27th, Saturday, Equality Weekend for the big canvas. And we're going to push that idea around everywhere. So the challenge would be to some of these people, especially with Lisa's help, is talking to the committees in these areas, and then also organizing this way. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay.
And so, Catherine, remember, we're not going to be here next Friday because.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to rural, and they don't have broadband or Wi-Fi in the area we are going to, or it's unstable. So let's show our little clip.
VACATION.